Children of the diaspora, those whose shoulders carry the weight of history, receive this word tonight. We begin our testimony not with a celebration, but with a question whispered in the darkest part of the night. Can a nation be stolen while it sleeps? The clock struck 2:14 a.m. in Ouagadougou. No cannon fire, no thunder of tanks. Instead, a silent, precise evil, a shadow moving like a snake through the corridors of power. The national security grid, the very nervous system of the nation, was silently severed. And what did they take? Not the treasury, but the truth itself. Operation Mamba, the plan designed to save them from a coup. My family, this is the pattern we must recognize. The enemy always seeks to steal the plan, because they know if you lose the blueprint for your own defense, you lose the confidence to defend yourself. When the single phone rang at the presidential residence, Captain Traore was not confused. He was clear. 2 words cut through the fear. Lock the borders. He was not just locking the physical gates, he was locking the heart against compromise. Tonight we testify to the courage it takes to look the ghost of the past in the face and say, I will not be defined by your algorithm. If this truth resonates in your spirit, join our communion. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Do not just observe this history, but proclaim it. Ouagadougou, city of justice, slept on, but deep beneath the surface, a spiritual battle had begun. They gathered, the 10 known as Cobra Zero. They were not ordinary men. They were the living memory of sacrifice, veterans of every shadow war from Mogadishu to Timbuktu. They were the nation's final, unseen defense, sworn to retrieve the truth within 24 hours. Their files were classified at Level 0, a clearance so restricted that it symbolized not just state secrecy, but ultimate trust. But as they stood in the silent bunker, preparing to chase the darkness, the cold reality set in. The breach required inside access. Think of the pain, brothers and sisters. To know the serpent is already among the sons of God. The door was sealed, and the chilling thought was this. One of these 10 men, standing in the sacred circle of loyalty, was the enemy's lookout. This is the first, hardest lesson of freedom. The greatest threat often wears the uniform of a friend. And who was the anchor for these troubled souls? A young man, filled with a spirit of determined fire, Captain Ibrahim. He knew their loyalty was the only resource the manipulators could not replicate. He was not just a leader of men, he was a pastor of morale. He sought to rally the human spirit when the system failed. They moved out under the dawn light, without fanfare, without broadcasting. They were not just hunting a stolen document, they were hunting the very principle of self-determination. The war has changed, my friends. It is no longer about tanks on the ground. It is about stories in the system. But here is the spiritual cliffhanger. Cobra Zero was ready to recover the truth. But how could they succeed if the thief had already corrupted the very concept of loyalty within their ranks? We must learn to discern the spirit behind the strategy. When Cobra Zero moved into Bobo-Dioulasso, they were met not with resistance, but with deception, an impossible signal overlap, a clone of their communication. When falsehood meets faith, it is designed to make the truth bleed. They were forced to silence, relying only on the trust they had built, communicating with silent hand gestures in the dust. Then came the second betrayal, the external one. They called Washington, they called Paris, asking for satellite help. And the answer came back, cold and calculated, unavailable due to maintenance. Maintenance, beloved. That is the language of complicity. The moment they refused to help an African nation defend itself, they revealed their true alliance. The president understood the depth of the game. He declared, "This is not a recovery mission. It's a battle to protect truth before it's rewritten." And where did this deception lead them? To a deserted market and a message left on a burned note. See you at Fort Jara. Fort Jara, a phantom base, officially decommissioned, erased from state maps, sold on paper to a private logistics firm, tied to an offshore account in Delaware. Do you see the method of the devil? They don't just want your land. They want your data. They want your history. This is the new bondage, the strategy of digital colonialism. They seek to occupy your narrative, making you a slave to their screens. The president's advisors urged caution, calling it a setup. But Ibrahim Traoré spoke a truth for all generations. History is built on traps. The question is, who writes the outcome? The team was blinded, GPS down, drones useless. They had to rely on memory and sheer, unshakable faith. But as they drove toward that haunting red horizon, the trap tightened not around their bodies, but around their minds. We must ask ourselves, was Fort Jara merely a geographical target, or was it the ultimate test of their internal integrity? The sorrowful moment when the truth of the betrayal could no longer be denied. The data logs screamed the name, Sergeant Fauna. 30 minutes before the breach, one of their own had broken the sacred trust. The president stood amidst the shattered monitors, the physical damage mirroring the psychological trauma. He was tested by the most painful question a leader can face. We can fight invaders, but how do you fight doubt? Doubt is the enemy's most potent weapon, because doubt makes you turn the sword on your brother instead of the true foe. While the nation reeled from the loss of Fauna, the enemy celebrated. In Geneva, the polished voice whispered, "The market reacts better to blood than to truth." $120 million in profit. For them, our chaos is merely a stock market ticker. Our pain is their dividend. This is the unholy alliance between intelligence and finance. But hear this. The true leader always prepares for the spiritual fallout. Months earlier, Ibrahim Traoré had established Project Phoenix, a counter-protocol designed to test loyalty when no one was watching. He knew the fight was not just against the foreign hand, but against the weakness within his own house. The commander was gone, the plan was exposed, and the world was watching. We, too, must be honest with ourselves, my friends. When the test of loyalty comes, not in the easy days, but when the smoke clears and you see the betrayal, what is the true, non-negotiable cost of your own integrity? I want you to testify to that in the comments below. At 5:49 p.m., the hour of decision arrived. The global system, built on arrogance, was panicking. The countdown to chaos was T-minus 90 minutes. They thought they had controlled every variable, but they forgot the human element, the soul that refuses to be programmed. Then the feed returned, showing the impossible sight at Fort Jara. A solitary figure, no convoy, no armor. It was Captain Traoré himself, walking into the very simulation designed to overthrow him. He didn't fight the code. He bypassed the entire system with courage. He took the microphone and spoke directly to the digital puppet masters. His words resonated with the weight of centuries of struggle, a powerful counter-declaration. You think you are stealing power, but what you're really giving away is your soul. You are not overthrowing a man. You are crowning the next colonizer. And in that moment, the entire system crashed. Simulation terminated. The power of the spoken, uncompromised truth brought down the digital giant. This was the new definition of African sovereignty. It was not found in treaties or weapons, but in the unyielding strength of a leader who refused to play the assigned role. He chose self-definition over compromise. The silence that followed was a holy hush. The world witnessed one man choose courage over code. But the question remains for us, the children of the struggle. Can one single act of bravery truly dismantle a system that has been built over generations of economic and psychological control? They sought to simulate their collapse, but they only ignited our awakening. At 7:45 p.m., the nation paused. Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood beneath the flag and delivered the sermon the continent needed to hear. Burkina Faso is not an algorithm to be rewritten by foreign hands. We are fire, and fire never dies. The fire spread from the heart of the Sahel. The Sahel Alliance was born, a new communion of leaders meeting without the approval or presence of Western observers. Ibrahim Traoré laid the stolen Operation Mamba briefcase on the table and preached, "This is how they think of us. Programmable, replaceable, disposable." But we forgot one thing. We learned how to reprogram the game. Their new doctrine was simple, yet profound. No agreement without African oversight. No data without African servers. No project without African ownership. They chose retention over dependency, circulating their own wealth. 3 months later, the final truth was revealed. The Mamba Papers went live, exposing the global entanglement of finance, private contractors, and intelligence. The media called it the day Africa unplugged from the Matrix. A small nation chose transparency over fear and unity over chaos. But I ask you, my friends, who are walking your path right now, if one nation can expose the hidden hand of the world, what truth are we still avoiding right here in our own communities? The battle for African sovereignty has always been a spiritual one. The enemy changed its mask from the slave ship to digital colonialism, but the goal remained the same: to control the mind and the resources. But what we witnessed was the triumph of faith over the algorithm. The president and his people proved that knowledge, when liberated, becomes the ultimate shield. He looked at the future and declared, "We're building one they can't predict, one fueled by trust, by unity, by truth." This is the essence of African sovereignty. Now look at your own life, my people. What algorithm of self-doubt, of fear, of division is still controlling your story? Are you still living by the scripts that were written centuries ago? The fire has been lit. Do not let this story just be a memory, let it be a mandate. If you feel the spirit moving in your heart, if you stand for the truth of African sovereignty, then share this message with everyone you know. Testify in the comments, and do not forget to join our congregation by hitting that like and subscribe. Let the awakening begin.